Hey, hello. Okay. I don't know if this is working that well, to be honest. I'm not entirely sure if this is working that well, to be honest. But we could talk about stuff anyway and see where it's going, right? Just see where it goes from here and see where it's going now. Anywhere it goes, right? I mean, I do want to talk about Metroid because that's what's on my head right now. And Metroid specifically about the birds. I'm interested about the birds. I'm interested about the whole bird stuff. Because there is a bird theme which has something to do with the Chozos. That's what I want to try and explore. Chozos. Why are the Chozos birds? They're birds, right? I mean, they're represented as birds. They have a beak. They have this sort of bird-like quality to them. And they are like the ones who raised Samus, if I'm correct. Like, Samus was raised by Chozos. So Samus is sort of like the daughter of the birds. And she wears a suit which is inspired by the Chozos' body. It's a Chozo suit, right? Or at least it emulates the same kind of big round shoulders which the Chozo statues have. So I guess the idea is it sort of emulates a Chozo, which means she's wearing a suit that is a bird. It is a bird. It represents a bird. And she's flying around. She's sort of running around planets. So yeah, she was sort of raised by birds. Okay, good. The thing is, though, we don't see that in the game, in like the early Metroid games at least. There are no segments of the game where you are actually interacting with Chozos or where there is any cutscene of this type. It's just pure backstory, right? I think that's true. It's just backstory. And so you never see the Chozos. It's pure past. It's something from the past. It's where Samus comes from. She comes from this ancient... The thing is also the Chozos are presented as like having like a religious side to them. There are... I mean, maybe this emerges more in other Metroid games, like the Metroid Prime games, maybe, but even in Super Metroid, the fact that there are statues, right? The fact that there are Chozo statues is kind of like a religious statue. They are presented in the same way. It's this statue that's often like crouching or kneeling or something, and they have their hands opened up, cupped, and there is some sort of magical object in the hand. So they are like the typical statues, religious statues, where they are associated with power, they're associated with magic in some way, they have some sort of a magical object in them. In fact, the magical objects in them are the suit. So that's kind of funny, because they are the suit. See, Samus is obtaining the suit. She lands on the planet, and I don't know what the idea is. I don't know what the backstory to this is, but the whole thing that happens is that she has to slowly rebuild her suit or enhance it, right? She reaches the planet with like the bare minimum amount of suit, but the suit is improved slowly throughout the game until she becomes like the full powerful 100% version of what she could be, or something, of what that suit could be. And so it's the Chozos who are presenting these little artifacts that make her more into a Chozo in some ways. She's becoming more and more a Chozo, maybe. And this religious side, I think, ties in with the like archaic, old, ancient stuff. They are archaic and ancient in like a spiritual way, in that they probably represent a series of knowledge, of knowledges which come from deep places, and that Samus is like recovering, right? There is that sort of strange side to them. I don't like, that there's that. Okay. But then they also just simply represent the past in that they represent Samus's past, so the personal past. That's interesting right there, because you can see in that there is a sort of a personal unconscious versus collective unconscious thing in them. Because for the story of Metroid, they are simultaneously the archaic past and the close personal past. Both pasts are represented by this single figure, and the single figure is I think I'm having like technological problems. I hope this doesn't impact too much in the episode, but I can see the thing stuttering and stuff. So yeah, I'm just commenting on it. Okay. Yeah. Commenting on it, because otherwise it'll just distract me if it's on the back of my head. So yeah, let's just acknowledge that something is not quite working. Anyway, so the whole thing is they are yes, okay, the past. And another thing that the Chozo are is statues. I think that's important, because we don't ever see living Chozos, the kind of Chozos that we see like images of them. There's this image of baby Samus being like cared for by a Chozo. Yes, but in game they are statues. Some of them seem to have been like haunted or something, or they actually work. They're like robots or mechanisms. They like have life in them in some way. They carry some sort of life perhaps, but are essentially statues, meaning that they're hard, solid bodies that we don't associate with life, just pure shells, pure shells. That's what the Chozos are in this game, statues. So that's interesting, because maybe it means what's in Samus's past is shells, statues. That's maybe a part of what the Chozos are. The thing is then that of course, that's also what Samus is. She is also a shell. She is also a suit, right? Again, she's a suit that's slowly being built up, and we don't see her inside the suit, right, until the very end of the game. So you could go the whole game assuming that she's a robot or something, that what we see is just purely a metallic shell, a tin person. It's not what we associate with someone who's a living being. So I think that this whole thing about the statues maybe plays into, again, what Samus is, what her past is, and maybe also this archaic past that the game is like participating in. Something about shells and statues. That's interesting, because we need to sort of contrast that, I think, with what's going on in the game. The Chozos are birds, and birds are usually creatures that I associate with beings who can fly, So they are beings who live up in the sky, or that are ephemeral, spiritual, again, maybe a link to the religious stuff, spiritual in the sense that they belong to the heavens, to the sky, and to the airy spiritual domains of the world. Whereas what Samus is doing mostly is she lands on a planet and digs deep into it, right? In the first 3 games, at least, it seems like that's what happens. You land on the planet from the sky, right? You've been driving up in the sky. You've been flying your spaceship in the sky. So you are in the sky. That's where you come from. You come from the sky, but you land on a planet, on Earth. And you don't only land on the surface of the planet, but you dig deep into the planet. In Metroid 1, 2, and Super Metroid, it seems like that's what happens. You dig deep into the planet, almost to its very core, where there is lava. And then at the core of the planet, you meet the enemy. Okay, so that's what's happening. But that's interesting, because it means then you are a bird. You're someone who somehow has some connection to the sky, but you're flying down into the depths of ground. And maybe that connects to why the Chozos are earth statues. They are earth birds, rock birds. I don't know, like maybe something about that is happening. Okay, so that's some of the stuff relating to birds. Okay, so there's bird stuff. Cool. But then, yeah, let's go back down into the depths of the planet. Because, right, who do you meet at the depths of the planet? Well, there are two things I want to mention. First is, you meet Mother Brain. Okay, right? Primarily, you meet Mother Brain. And also, you meet Mother Brain in Mother Brain's world, in Mother Brain's land, which is Turian, which is, again, like a very highly technological world. I'm just really interested in this. I continually want to think about it, because it's as if the surface of the planet has all these different lands which correspond to natural, as in what we usually in the human world consider natural environments, forests, oceans, lava caves, forests, oceans, things like that, environments that haven't been like manufactured by humans in some sense. But Turian is a land that has been manufactured by humans, or by, let's say, human representing people, be they space pirates or be they whoever, like by people, basically. Because it's a lab, essentially. It's this big lab place with glass and metal. So that's where you're heading towards. That's weird. I find that's interesting. You're heading towards this lab. Okay. This like manufactured place, human place. And it's at the depths of the planet, almost as if it were the core. You get the sense that the core should be a more natural place than the surface. Like it should be deeper, more distant from manufacture, that it should be older somehow. But it's almost like it's newer. You get to Turian, it's this new place. New as in it's filled with new technology, new construction, things that have required people to build it. And then Mother Brain is this person inside of a cage. So Mother Brain is also a person inside of a suit in some ways. It's also a person, that's a cage, a suit, like Samus, right? Essentially, Mother Brain is basically Samus. It's a metallic suit, and it's funny because you could almost say that the entirety of Turian is the suit. It's not just the little glass container that Mother Brain is in. It's like almost the glass container is connected and depends upon the entirety of the system of Turian in order to work anyway, like that's the sense that you get, that it's the core of Turian. The core of Turian is this like little shell inside which is this living being, right? And so there seems to be a connection with Samus in that way, in that Samus is also like is approaching a person inside of a cage, a living organic, brain inside of a metallic shell. Okay. So that's something, let's say that that's what's happening in the game. Samus is going deep into the world in order to find this person inside of a cage who is herself, right? Let's say that that's what's going on. Then at the same time, Turian is this modern world, this world of technology. And see, okay, so one thing that's interesting in that regard then is that Samus has spent the whole game acquiring technology. She acquires technology. That's what allows her to advance deeper and deeper into the planet. Is that now she can do this special move because she's got a new kind of weapon, or now she can use the morph ball, or now she can, right? So her whole mechanized suit becomes more and more intricate, more complex technologically, right? So she herself is entering into a more and more, technological sort of world, or a complex sort of world. Her suit, her being is becoming more complex. And she enters into Turian, which is also a complex technological world. It almost seems as if Turian is the climax of what she is doing. She is acquiring technology, and, like almost as if in so doing that, she is entering into Turian, as if Turian were like a state of being or something. You know what I mean? Like Turian is the state of having acquired all of the technology necessary to be Samus, in full suit gear, because you can't enter Turian without that. So it's like entering into Turian is like almost a synonym of having reached the end of the game, meaning having acquired all of the technology to fill in your suit. So it's like you finally end up being completely covered in this technological shell, and you meet this person, this brain, that it lives covered by this technological shell. You confront that. So that's interesting. It's like you're going throughout the game, covering yourself up with technologies and with new kinds of shells, in order to reach a place where you can confront that, where you can confront like that, what's happening to you, or the state that you're in, or something. Yeah. So it's like it's funny. It's like you need to do that. You need to do that, you see, because you also get the sense that these different things, these different suits, these different, beams and technologies that you're using are things. It almost seems as if they are things that you always used. They belong to you. It doesn't feel like it's new stuff. It feels like Samus is becoming who she was, almost, because this stuff is coming from the Chozos, which represent her past. It's almost as if, okay, I'm acquiring ancient technology that fits me, that is like almost built for me, but it comes from the past. I don't have it now. I'm like refilling my present with all of this stuff that wasn't in my present. Okay, so something like that is happening. That's interesting. Right? All of this stuff is happening. All this stuff is sort of revolving around what is happening. But then there's the theme of mother. That's the thing. Because you're entering into the mother, like the mother's world. You're entering into the mother's world. That has like a component of confronting the past, right? As well, it's this mother who's all powerful. So it's also this idea of a mother who, how do I say it? It seems, and okay, we've already said this, but it's like what's happening is this is a mother archetype. This is not just like any person. It's a mother archetype you're confronting. It makes it feel as if what you're doing is you're therefore entering deep into some psyche, some sort of memory almost. Again, which makes it feel as if you're entering deep into the past, as if as you go down, you're entering deep into the past. And the past is this world of technology, this lab-like world where something was constructed and manufactured, and at the center of which is Mother Brain. So there's that component to it, right? This sort of mother component to it that I find interesting, because again, let's look at it again. You come from the Chozos. There's this idea, and I'm not aware of, like, let's say, a canon Metroid info. I'm sure that there's a lot about this. It's just more like what this game evokes, to me, without having read any of the manuals or any of the stuff. I've read a little bit of the manuals, but like it's what this game evokes. Let's say, independently of what is let's say, I don't know, developed by the developers or something. Let's say, just what is here is this sort of strange thing of the fact that the Chozos seem to be presented as the ones who raised Samus. So again, and there's this art, right, which makes it seem as if the Chozos are Samus's mother, Samus's parents, and it's like they're not a single mother. They are like a sort of distributed mother, a distributed parenthood, right? Where it's like, it's interesting because it's kind of like whatever in these sort of fairy tales where you're raised by wolves, or you're raised by, right, like you're raised by a group of people. That's like the sense that you get, is Samus is raised by a group. There's this group parent, and she goes from that place, she comes from that place and heads straight towards Mother, which is this single figure of parenting. You're going towards this, almost, it's single and it's alone. Mother Brain is like solitary, alone. It's literally a brain in a jar. It's disconnected from everything else in terms of like social structures, it seems. It's just this complete joke almost of solipsism or something, of being me, this individual me, this brain, right? That's not where Samus comes from. She comes from like a distributed social upbringing of some kind. And she's heading towards confronting this single individual person. Yeah. So that's some of what's happening in this game, I think. Some of what I was interested in exploring, at least. And now that I've explored it, I'm happy. That's good. That's all I wanted to explore. That's nice. Yes, I am content. I'm content with the explanation. That's good. I'm satisfied. Okay, good. So yeah, that's it. Bye. Thank you for listening.